What? Hello and welcome back to another SLR Season 5 race here. We're at the 4th race of the weekend here in Spain. I was about to say Spa for some reason. And you join us in the middle of monsoon season, so it seems, as the heavens have opened and the track is definitely wet. Taking you through another Division 3 race is the commentators, myself, Riggs, and joining me in the booth once again is Max. Max, how are we?
Hello everyone, looking forward to whatever this qualifying session brings, but yeah, this is, I'm feeling excited once again to commentate over a Div 3 race, as usual.
That's definitely one to, I mean, Division 3 is always the SLR's division that always kind of stirs up the hype. And I think I've already seen a spinner coming out the pit lane. I think I've literally just seen a spinner. It's the Racing Point of Cal Smith, and he's just basically pushed the Alfa Romeo Jay Geddes onto the outside of the circuit, so he's probably going to have picked up a warning for crossing the pit exit line. Not even 2 minutes into the session and already it's kicking off, and it just lives up to that hype that it gets in the Discord. If you're tuning in, if you're new, if you're current or regular, you know just by the first 2 minutes of this stream we're going to be in for a race. We're definitely going to be in for a qualifying session though, because it's no full wet conditions, but drivers opting for the intermediates, even though the rain itself does look very heavy.
Yeah. So obviously the inters are a quicker tyre at the moment. The wets obviously overheat quite quickly, unless it's like fully just chuck it down. That's like the only reason why you'd use them. I believe Cal Smith is on debut today. On the way you want to start. Jord is now starting the first flying lap. Commentated with me earlier. Thankfully stepped in. Let's see how he can do on the track.
He's going to be the first person to he was the first person to start a flying lap. I've just jumped on board with SLR Jord in the Ferrari, and you can just see I'm watching his throttle input, I'm watching his steer, and he's very tentative through that first sector, but it will be purpose for the time being purely the first to set a valid time. But even then you can see him just like, if you get that wee bit too greedy in the throttle in these treacherous conditions, you can easily just find yourself in the gravel traps. And Spain is one of the very few circuits that have gravel traps basically embedded right on the exit at the turns, so drivers will need to be wary as they're ready to pounce on anybody that makes the slightest mistake. But it is a very cautious lap. I don't really expect to see too many of the drivers coming out with blistering times. I think these are just going to be bankers, just to kind of try and see where the setup weighs in, where their strategy's really going to kind of come into play. How much fuel they've got on board too as well, Max, will be another variable as well, purely because in these conditions drivers always go for like an extra 2 or 3 laps and just go for like a kind of semi-practice run. So maybe we'll see a couple of drivers doing that. Yeah,
I'd imagine that if you're out for a few runs, that seems to be what most people usually do. As we've seen a massive difference in timing already, by a whole 3.5 seconds or whatever that is. Yes, 3.5 seconds. But yeah, I'm sure George can go a lot quicker than that. As he said, he was struggling for traction. It's only the first lap as well. So it seems like SP8 has come out of the box quite quickly.
Definitely laying down the gauntlet very early in the session. 1:28.6, and he's 6/10 faster than the SLR Dodgy in the Racing Point. I've just jumped on board with Dingle Dolphin, very cautious through that final chicane and final turn there. He does come up to the line to complete the lap, and it is a 32.9, which is they put on last of the time runners at the moment. So we don't really have any information of where there's going to be for the race. We'll try and update that for yourselves as the viewers and for ourselves as the commentators. As we see a Williams in the background there going for a spin. That looked to be, that was Baggy Fan. I want to kind of take a guess because I think he was just behind.
No, it's Crafty.
It was just, it was the other Williams.
Yeah, luckily not to lose his wheel. Well, thankfully he didn't lose his wheel. Anyway, you have to come back into the pits. Most people have set laps. We've got 3 people in the pit lane.
And Crafty will basically need to nurse that car back, run 2/3 of the circuit just to come in and get that wing repaired. Dodgy and Scott Laney are kind of racing each other to the line here as the yellow flag's out for the Williams. They Jester again. I think he's doing another spin. I think it's maybe slowing down pass by there what we saw on camera. And it's Dodgy that goes fastest there. As he crosses the line right behind Scott Laney. Scott Laney goes 12th. SLR Dodgy goes P1.
I think they're both on a lap. Yeah.
We jumped on to the last sector on board with Dodgy, and it basically looked like Dodgy was pushing Scott Laney along through that final sector. There doesn't really seem to have damaged his time very much, as he goes a 28.4 and fastest to everybody that's currently set time. As you were saying at the start of the session as well, Mercs, Cal Smith and the other racing point is making debut here in Catalonia, and I think the conditions has really proven to be. We're only 5 minutes, 6 minutes into this first qualifying session of 3, and Cal Smith has already been welcomed to the SLR into Spain with a baptism of fire with these conditions.
Yeah, I guess you don't always want your first qualifying or first race week to go smoothly, but that isn't always going to be the case, as we see here. But yeah, I guess it's a test for all drivers in these conditions, and well, I guess it's something that he'll be able to learn from once this session is over, and once this race weekend is over. He'll know what he can change and whatever. Obviously, hopefully for him it'll be dry next time out. Obviously, I don't know what the weather is for the race either.
I mean,
so I haven't
it's
no idea.
nearly, sorry just to cut across you there, Max. Cal Smith was just getting a wee bit throttle happy there on the exit of turn 10. His laps invalidated. They've just kind of sat on board for the duration. He is just kind of talking him into the league, and he's the same again through turn 13. So he's kind of he seems to, like, just looking at that mix, he is a driver that we can't really gauge his pace because he's no set a valid time. But that was a 34.4, which would put him just one place up where he is just now. But looking at him through that third sector alone, I think it is just going to be a matter of trying to kind of familiarise yourself with the conditions, as he does take the go-karting lines through turn 1 and 2, and he's away into the wall in turn 3. And again, really kind of getting a rhythm there. The car just, he looked like he was going through turn 2 quite fine. Like, he looked like he was carrying enough speed. There was enough rip there, and then the next time we knew, I think the rear of the car must have just stepped out, and he just tried to steer into it, and then it bit, and it's just through the car into the exit, the outside of turn 3. So no really looking too confident in the conditions. But as you were saying, hopefully it is dry for him next time out. But next time out is Monaco, so which is going to be everybody's thorn in the side.
Yeah. Good luck from SLR Bean. Back down to Division 3 and in the Red Bull. I have got an update on the weather. Apparently it's wet Q1 and dry race. So it might dry up in qualifying by the sounds of it. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
We'll definitely need to see how the clouds part and how they work in the next few minutes. I'm going to jump on board from one Red Bull to the next as we jump on board with SLR Gareth, who is currently on a lap. He is committing himself to this lap as he comes up through turn 9 as flat and dry, definitely not in the wet. It's a fool's game when you're doing it flat in these conditions, but going into first for turn 10, we'll just ride on board with Gareth through the final sector as he comes across that bump for turn 11, which is very easy just to kind of get carry this, like, if you just carry like an extra couple of miles per hour over that bump, like you can just see your car being slammed into the wall. It's like a very punishing corner. I remember racing in Division last night, and I've not seen version 2, I've not seen version 2 race yet, but actively encourage you to tune in to those 2 races once this one's done. And we're back for one more race here at the circuit in Barcelona, Catalonia for the elite race tomorrow at 7 British Standard Time, so we very much look forward to having you there. With my co-commentator is going to be swapping the microphone for the racing helmet. And
yeah.
So, what is your general opinion of the track? Because it's a very Marmite circuit.
Yeah, I'm not not one of my favourite circuits. So yeah, it's one of those. I feel like whenever I turn up here, it's one of those races where it's damage limitation job. Obviously, you never know what anything could happen. There could be a crazy race, and I could get lucky. But on a bog standard race, I think it'd be damage limitation. I think we got a Ferrari off of George. But yeah, I think it's a tough circuit to get grips of in the dry, let alone in the wet. So I don't envy these drivers at all. Although I wouldn't mind a bit of rain.
Definitely, rain is quite
SPH
welcome when
is off, by the way.
Oh, SPH is off at turn 2. Oh, see, you have to scroll through all these. Is just going to have to wait for the clear, and there is a Renault, a Scott Laney starting lap. Aye, we'll just jump on to Scott Laney to see the Mercedes SPH getting in the way, and Darren Paul in the other Mercedes.
Oh, he's crashed.
Darren again, I can't.
Yeah.
And it's turn 7 and 8. And we'll jump on board with Plum, who's going to get a good view of it. So I think it's maybe just a matter of taking a nice L. He was taking too much of an early apex into turn 7, and instead of getting the snappy oversteer that you can easily just like kind of flick the steering wheel to the right, as soon as he done that, the car just kept going left. That was the main issue as well. I feel like that is going to be a very troublesome part of the circuit for the drivers, because you have to try and carry as much speed through there so you can get good purchase off that chicane and get ready for 9, because 9's flat in the dry. But every time through turn 7 and 8, if you've not got enough downforce, the back of the car just wants to step out, and the track balance there as well is a bit off. So I definitely see that as being a very troubled part of the circuit, as well as maybe the final chicane. It has been reformatted on this new game, but the sausage curbs are quite brutal when you get a bit greedy. So I feel like they're giving the main action points in terms of just drivers maybe like having a moment through there, so to speak. I've just looked at the chat as well. I mean, this is the first we've really kind of looked at the chat as well. So we've got
weather
asking
update.
Wet or Quali.
Yeah.
If he needs a weather update.
Steve-O's weather update. Apparently the screen said it was wet or quali. So yeah, it looks like, well, he wants to save his inters, so he wants to know if he's through. Done 4 laps on those tyres, so makes sense. So yeah, if it's wet or quali, yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah, but it's a dry race, so it's going to be hard to handle these cars with a dry setup, you'd imagine, even though the rear wing is quite high as it is, because you need a lot of downforce around here. So.
And that's the kind of thing as well, as we're about to enter the final 3 minutes. We've got Paul, who's already out the session due to his accident. He'll be starting 16th at best. We've got Sprightly, the 2 Reynolds, Dingle Dolphin and Scott Laney, and we've got Cal Smith, the debutant in P20, and they are all in the drop zone at the minute, as we've literally just saw who was 16th go.
Renault,
They've
I think
just
it's
jumped up the order.
Scott Laney.
Oh, it's Scott Laney. Yep, Scott Laney's went from P17 to P5, so definitely see him as being safe. The main cut-off point will probably be a 29.4, so I think maybe even the 2 McLarens, Steve and Ned, Claude 10th and 11th, I think they're pretty safe. I think Jay Geddes, Jules, and DNF Plumbing, Scott, and the other Ferrari should definitely be back out on circuit to try and make sure that they're going to be safe and into the second qualifying session. As I watch, just jump on board somewhere else. Jump on board with Cal Smith. He is on a lap this time. We've got a Ferrari. Scott just down the road. I'm assuming he'll be on his lap as well. So they're in the nitty gritty, the squeaky bum time of the session, as we like to call it. We'll ride on board with Cal Smith for a flying lap in these conditions as he comes through turn 3 under the Pirelli board for turn 4. You kind of want to downshift into third. I mean, the fourth is the preferred gear, but third just for that extra bit of turn in before quickly double shifting up to fifth for the traction. We've got Scott in front, which isn't exactly ideal. I don't know if he's actually on a lap as well, but he is looking like he is setting similar pace to Cal in the racing point, but that's not going to really do him any good because he's going to get the dirty air, as we see Scott in front just getting a bit out of shape. Gone through turn 9, downshifting to fifth, and he's clipped the curb. Brilliant correcting there at the steering through turn 9 to keep it straight through there into 10, into the final sector. A 57.9 for the Delta for sector 2. Does take a good bit of the curb. Could have been a bit greedier there. It would have been invalidation in my opinion, but this is where it's really going to hurt Cal through this third sector, where it's going to be the 3Ts, tight, twisty, technical, and you're going to have the Ferrari in front just unleashing the dirty air coming off the back of that car. But doesn't really seem to do too much damage. Does take the final chicane quite nicely onto the final turn. He's got the fuel light flashing red on his telemetry at the bottom, but it's a 129.2 and it puts him right on the cusp. It is safe, but he definitely will need to keep the foot down if he's going to want to ensure his safety into Q2. He is right on the bubble, as Martin Brundle likes to say.
Yeah, Dingle Dolphin is out. He's in the pits. Jules unfortunately disconnected, so he'll be out. Deadpool's obviously out already. So Scott is. Well, last week Scott was struggling, I think, to get out in qualifying 1. He just about did. Sprightly is now coming to the pit, so he's out. So it's literally Scott is the only man who can make the difference now. So Cal Smith is in danger if Scott can set a good lap.
And we're going to see what Scott's going to do through the second sector here. He's up half a second on his time. His teammates just getting in the way. Just need to watch. Jord, that was close. I did understand that Jord was trying to get out the way, but it looked a bit kind of close to the bone there in my professional opinion there, but it doesn't seem to have hindered him too much. It definitely looked like it could have been a bit of an accident there. I mean, Ferrari colliding with Ferrari. I mean, that kind of sounds like something that would happen in real life. But the checkered flag's out, and Scott is coming up to the line. He needs to improve to go through. He goes up to 11, which means Cal is being pushed back into 16th. But is Cal on a lap? That is the question.
He's not.
And I mean, I did say the McLarens were going to be safe. I didn't expect to see them going down to 14th and 15th. I definitely thought they would have been fine, but definitely good for McLaren to get both drivers just in by the skin of their teeth there into Q2. But it's Cal, Jules, Sprightly, Paul and Dingle Dolphin who are your 5 drivers eliminated for the first qualifying session. And SLR Bean, you were saying he was demoted to Division 2 to Division 3. He has been partnered with Gareth and the other Red Bull, so that's a pretty strong lineup looking into Spain. And it's Bean that sets the early pace in this qualifying session. Jester in P2 and Jay Geddes, who was in danger just a few moments ago, finds himself up into P3. And 3 drivers in the 127s as well, so definitely looks to be that the track's just kind of getting that wee bit drier. Kind of drivers are starting to find their reference points in these conditions, and as you said, it's a dry race, so they're going to try and get on top of their cars, wrestle the car with a dry setup in wet conditions. So that's them having to exercise a completely different skill entirely. So that's definitely interesting. I doubt that most drivers would have set their car up for qualifying. There's no points on a Saturday.
Nope. We did have our first winner pole position last time out. of Rando, but Rando's now promoted up to Division 2 and had a good race earlier, so justified. But yeah, I think obviously before that there wasn't, opposition was kind of like a curse, which was lifted by Rando. So, it'll be interesting to see who gets near the front. But obviously it's completely different conditions, so someone could be excellent in the wet, but not as good in the dry. So I guess, yeah, they got to be keep them wits about them, because it's not one in qualifying, as we keep saying. But that is Q1 done.
Definitely, we are going to just get ourselves sorted out. We've got our 15 qualifiers right here. We've lost Cal Smith, who will be starting the race in 16th, Jules in 17th in the Haas, Sprightly in the Alpha Tauri. Paul, after an accident, wasn't able to complete the rest of qualifying 1, which means he starts 19th, and Dingle Dolphin rounds out the bottom 5 with a 130. A 130. That was exactly what it was. But, aye, into Q2. I think it's, especially with conditions as adverse as these, it's going to be really. I mean, if you want to start predicting pole position, or the top 3, I mean, you can be my guest, but I am definitely waiting until Q3 at the very earliest before I can wager on that particular discussion. But already looking at Q2 in the space of a few minutes, we've seen the rain getting that bit lighter as well, which should mean the drivers will be that bit quicker as well, and the track's just continuously going to dry out, and eventually, I mean, even at the end of Q1 we saw a dry line forming, so definitely the track is going to be drying up at some point. We could maybe see some switches to dry tyres maybe near the end of Q2 if it continues this particular trend, or in Q3 as well. We are looking to see what the weather update is for qualifying, sorry. But I'm just going to take a look at the chat while the drivers get on circuit and kind of get themselves up to speed. We've got we had Steve and Freeman talking about Stephen's safety. I mean, I do apologise. I thought you were a bit more comfortable than 14th and 15th, to be perfectly honest with you. So apologies for that. I mean, at least you're through. That's the main thing there. Every cloud. But we've got I am Ben saying Riggs is talking fast and I can't keep up. Sorry about that. When the excitement gets to me, it's quite hard to understand the Scottish in full swing. Hicklin asked for dry race. Freeman's already answered that question. If you've even just got like any general points of discussion, like for the race up and coming, the session up and coming, drivers who you think are going to be in Q3, like just anything's on your mind really, like just fire it in while we sit and commentate. But you can definitely see, I'm on board with Baggy fan and that Williams, as he's about to start his laps, so Williams going to be the one day in the honours of Q2. But you can already see Max in the sky, like there is patches of lighter clouds, so you can definitely see the kind of grey skies just kind of breaking away, and the rain's just getting that bit lighter. The snow is in your face as it was in Q1, and the dry line just looks very white. You see Baggy fan drifting wide through top 3 though. But
it's definitely drier. Well, it looks drier. Anyway, definitely not as wet as it once was. Even Scott has decided to select medium, so he thinks it's going to dry up before the end of Q2. So that's interesting to see, but obviously people want to get their laps in on the inters, and it may not dry up at all, but by the looks of it, it may be drying up for Q3 if it... well, it just looks like it's going to dry up for Q3. at the rate it's going at the moment, but we will have to wait and see on that one.
I think it's definitely brave in the Ferrari driver to already pre-select the mediums and kind of premeditate how the weather's going to go. Definitely looking at Baggy Fan's lap, you can see the rain again is just gently fizzling out as he goes at 28 and he goes fast. He's having to already jump onto the wetter part of the circuit just to kind of keep the tyres in the optimal window as well. But Scott already pre-selecting the mediums kind of does speak a bit of, it does kind of speak a high volume to us though as the viewers, because we don't have that information on hand. Like, we have to rely on what we get fed to us by the drivers, and if Scott already has selected the mediums, then it kind of does feed into this belief that it's going to be dry, like you say. And I think that's the rain completely off, Mercs. I've just had to flick the camera again and the rain has completely stopped, so maybe we are going to see a barrage of drivers coming on the drier tyre.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry. I was preoccupied. I was too busy looking at something else. Yeah, I think Scott's obviously probably realised that rain is going to dry up, or it's dry in what I probably said 5 minutes on his screen, and we get 5 minutes. Practically it is. We've still got people on laps. Scott Laney has spun almost into the pit lane entry. Decides to complete it, but yeah, I think come the end of the session, providing the rain does dry out, it doesn't look like it will dry out that quickly. But we have got Gareth on the grass doing a bit of lawn mowing on his outlap. But yeah, it looks like
that was his outlap.
Yeah, looks like we'll see some dry tyres at the end of the session, I would guess. Wait and see.
Definitely. I jumped on board with SLR Steve as he's about to complete his flying lap as well. He's been giving it a bit of the old Jim Carter through the final chicane there, getting a bit of a slide on the exit, and it does put him fourth fastest with 28.3, so McLaren's just kind of sticking together here. They were 14th and 15th in Q1. They were higher up in the order, but they opted to stay in the pits, ended up being 14th and 15th to go through, and they're sitting 4th and 5th in this stage in Q2. And interestingly, Mercs, alright, no, that's fine. It wasn't really a topic of discussion there because I literally just looked on board. I just kind of looked at the tyre settings and I seen Jonesy was selecting the wets, and I was like, bit brave. I think that's maybe the opposite direction that the track seems to be evolving into. But see, here's the thing though, because what if we can put a pin in it, right? So what if it isn't dry enough for the mediums or the dries? I'm seeing Baggy Fan, he's just selected the mediums in his pit garage as well, but what if it's not ready for that and you're banking on that as your sole time? Would you know have wanted to come out and put a banker time in first?
I mean, I probably would have, just because I mean, better to be safe than sorry, I suppose, because like I say, you never know, and it's still rather damp. Dodgy's did a 27.9, so he's not exactly going slow. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Still got 8 minutes, or just under 8 minutes to go. So I'm not sure. Yellow flag. Jay Geddes. He's kept out of the wall by the looks of it.
Jod's car just looked like it was understeering through turn 3, and Jay Geddes was off the track. He was definitely off the circuit. But even with the understeer, it just looked like the car was kind of like, it was like there was a magnet, and it was just kind of like they were just like kind of slowly coming together there. But we've got a bit of important information, Mercs, looking at the chat. Because Craig's disconnection completely went under the radar for me, but he's disconnected for the session. And what's key about that is he's no set a time.
Yeah. I think he might have disconnected in between sessions, and with the new rules that not allowed to come back until Q3, unfortunately, which is partly due to this game being a bit rubbish. So, putting it lightly.
I mean, I think that is kind of putting it in the most polite fashion, because the game is arguably the most broken it's been on launch in a while, in my personal opinion. But I mean, we'll try and avoid bashing the game. Like, we can be thankful and appreciative that we've actually got a game to continue our league racing on. But we are hoping that we get these issues amended and we can have good proper racing without having all these wee glitches and infringements and the list goes on. But we'll get Craig back in for Q3 because I think that is the new rule set as well. I think they try and get him back in, or
Yeah.
in Q3 anyway. I'll jump on board with Plum is on a lap. Like, I'll stay on board with Plum. I was completely like, I was just looking at the chat there, and then Plum was like one of 3 drivers only he was on the circuit, and you're already seeing I've got the tyre details to fitted rather than the personal best set by the drivers, so you can see drivers already starting to switch over to the medium tyres, getting ready for that final push at the end of the session, and they're banking on it being dry enough. You've got Scott and Gareth still out on the circuit, 14th and 15th. They're on the intermediates though, so they've definitely kind of left that a bit late, especially considering that the rain, the track's drying. Scott had already selected the mediums.
Scott's gone off somewhere, I think. Yeah, he's gone off somewhere. He's got damage. So, yeah, maybe that decision to sit in the garage for that long on the mediums might come back to bite him, because the track's drying, but it's at the same time it's not drying. So it might be a last-minute job here. We'll see.
If I was him, I would have seen my car coming into the pits.
We've got a driver out on track on the medium compound tyres.
Oh, sorry, Max. Scott just came out of the pits there. He just came out of the pits and he just absolutely clattered into the wall that separates the track for the pit lane. So he definitely didn't have the cleanest entry. But sorry, just to cut across you there, Max. You were saying drivers already out on the mediums. Jay Geddes.
Yeah, Jay Geddes is the man. He's having a look, but yeah. I think. Oh wow, yeah, that'll be that. I think for qualifying. Can't see it drying up.
See, because that's the kind of thing as well, Max. You've got Jonesy and Scott. You've got Baggy Fan and Scott Laney as well. And Scott's coming back out on a set of intermediates. He's on their best times. These are their fitted times. So this is like the tyre information you're seeing is what they've currently got on either in the pit lane or on the circuit, and we're seeing Jay Geddes on the mediums, and you can just see it, Max. The car it is slowing down, but it's just no turning, and you're seeing Jay Geddes is basically just revving the heat off of that Ferrari engine in the Alpha, and it's not going anywhere. Like, and it's just kind of, the back end's always just kind of want to throw into a drift. Like, he's really struggling to keep control of the car, and I mean, I'm surprised he's still keeping it in the straight and narrow. But right, maybe did speak a bit too soon there, but at the same
get
like,
in the
you
pits,
can just
mate.
see him. Aye, it's not
Oh,
ready.
don't crash.
Like,
Oh, wow, oh my.
oh. That car's just screaming at this point. That engine's had enough.
Still got people going on laps anyway on the inters. So.
Anybody on a lap that you can see or about to start? I see an Alpha of Joe.
Scott Laney is actually on a lap.
Oh, Scott Laney. We'll jump on board with Scott since he is further in the circuit. But we're in the final 2 minutes and 13 seconds of the session, and it's Baggy Fan, Scott Laney, Jonesy, Craig who did disconnect, and he's not coming out in the pits. So he'll be gone out of this session regardless. I don't think his AI will come out, and Scott as well, who is coming out on the circuit as well. They all need to either put a time on the board or improve on their current time to try and get themselves into the pole position shootout and qualifying free But it's Scott Laney coming through the final chicane. Does take a bit of the curb on the inside of the right hander there on the exit of 15. But through 16 it is kind of flat on exit up to the line. It's a 27.7 and it's second fastest. So Scott Laney definitely showing us there is still some pace on the intermediates.
Yeah, there's definitely still life in this track. So that's good news for Baggy, Scott, Jonesy, Gareth, and the rest ahead of him that are out on laps. Pretty much everyone from Jay Geddes down now is going to be on a lap. So Jonesy's now coming across the line. See what he can do. Only 13th, so he's got to get this lap in, or it's game over for him.
What this does show though, Mercs, is that it is dry enough for dries in Q3 at least, so we are definitely going to see drivers going at their absolute limit in the dry in the third qualifying session. So you're seeing times in the mid 27s, 28s for drivers that are going out in this session and out in Q1 as well. But when it comes to the race, when it comes to Q3, you're going to see potentially going to see the dry times anyway that we have expected so far. But Jonesy in 13th was a big surprise mix. But like we remember the race in China where the conditions didn't kind of start changing and he kind of lost general grip as well. So he hasn't really one that's really shown for me personally in these conditions. But we definitely know he is capable of strong results. So he'll probably be one to watch if he goes out this session.
Crafty's out.
And it's turn 7 again.
He just set the fastest time of the session as well.
Wow. It puts him to 10th though. So, say like the bottom 5 don't improve, checker flag is out, so these times are final. Jordan Craig already been confirmed as exiting the session. We've just seen somebody jump up the order there and
Jonesy's out at the bottom 5.
See, Jonesy was... I mean, I was sitting there kind of maybe... No, I was sitting there kind of talking against them there, but glad to be proven wrong there. And Gareth is out of the session after a late invalidation on the lap. Scott is out as well. After finally setting a time, it's only 14 fast as Craig disconnected. So
Baggy is out as well.
And Baggy as well, so Crafty, Jester, just needs too crafty on his in lap there, as he did go fastest in simple mistake at 7, saw him in the wall and he's at a Q3, but he does start 10th. He will start 10th on the race, and it does mean that there's only going to be 9 drivers in the running for pole position, and this is your prime time to get your nominations in. Who you think is going to get pole, who you think is going to be top 3. I still think it's going to be interesting because it's potentially going to be dry, and we've not seen these drivers in dry conditions at Spain, so that'll be interesting. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to see if this is dry or not. To make sure I will invite Craig once this session is over and done with. Just kind of sitting here waiting for this timer to tick down. As we only have the 9 runners now in Q3, if Crafty starting 10th place. George confirming. Yeah, George confirming it would be a dry race. I wouldn't want to be a betting man on who's going to get pole position at the moment, because it's literally going to be anyone at this rate. If I was to, though, I would go with... I don't know. I'm going to go with SPHH for pole, I reckon.
See, here's the funny thing, right? Because I was thinking the exact same. Because we never, because he got pole in China, and we never considered him as a pole position contender. And then he was there, and I was like, all right, okay, he's just kind of done that out of nowhere. So maybe like assuming, I think like enough, the same. Bean's always kind of been near the top. We always kind of see Jonesy and Dodgy kind of thereabouts as well at the top. So I think it definitely will be a bit of a hope fight for pole, but I think it really will come down to a battle between Bean and SBH. But SBH might just edge it for Mercedes in the final session. But SBH is already.
Yeah,
oh,
I was
sorry,
about to mention that
say
actually.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Because he's.
Yeah. Is it dry? It looks dry.
Yeah, 'cause it just looks like we've just got the. It genuinely just looks like we've just left it a day and the track's just bone dry now. Like, it doesn't look
It's still
wet
overcast,
at all.
to be fair.
True, definitely. But drivers definitely opting for the soft tyres. SBH saying to us in the chat, high expectations from me. Yep, definitely. Myself and Mercs have placed our wages on your shoulders. So if we put a bet on, definitely we're hoping you deliver. But George says SPH's Division 2 pace definitely has been at the top of the timing sheets throughout the three sessions, the two sessions so far here. Apologies. Freeman's put his weight behind Steve-O for pole. Both McLarens in Q3 as well, which is a strong showing from them. Same as Mitzi pointing at the two Alphas. They're both in qualifying 3 as well, and then the rest have one sole nominee per team. The two Williams are missing out. Crafty would have been here, but unfortunately an accident at turn 7 meant he was ruled out of Q3 after setting the fastest time. What other teams on the here? I think that's kind of pretty much it. And on both Ferraris. But both Ferraris are out of the session as well, so no had a strong showing for the Ferrari boys here at Spain. Anything else? Oh, Merck says Plum for pole. Is that you for pole saying Plum?
Nah, that was because Aaron said nice job, Plum, but he spelled it Plume. W.
Plume. SLR Plume. But SLR Plume. We're definitely seeing some drivers. Who's going to be the first to set it with
Jake Geddes,
the other Alpha driver, Jake Geddes, as well as the track is definitely bone dry, so you'll definitely see drivers more on edge of the SPH and the gravel trap. That's no way to start your pole position charge in the gravel trap in turn 2. That is definitely not ideal for him and the Mercedes team, but we're on board with Jake Geddes as he does go purple through sector 1. 21.7 is the first sector delta. Does look to be fairly clean and tidy so far. Into turn 6, runs a bit wide. Don't run too wide because you do get a track warning for that, as it is exceeding track limits and gaining an advantage of the track. But talking about that, he just does it there at turn 7 and 8, and that is definitely where your penalties are going to be picked up and accumulated. Turn 7 and 8. See, honestly, when you're going through that, dry or wet, slightest twitchy, the rear end just gone, and you have to correct it, you still get the warning for exceeding track limits, even if you're slowing the car down, which I think's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I think, well, as long as they're fair, you can't really complain. So we do have Dodgy finishing this lap. Gets lucky with the track limits there. Having said that, running the Scopes style helmet, as we've seen with most of the drivers, as we will see with most of the drivers this weekend, and sets the fastest time so far, and then gets beaten by Scott Laney.
I definitely just kind of want to point out as well, if he's missed it on Wednesday, there was a podcast by the SLR boys in regards to mental health, and Scopes himself was on there, so just kind of want to kind of emphasise that. If you haven't watched it, definitely be sure to tune in. It talks you through mental health and how you can get help in that, and if you are in a bit of a bad place and you're not feeling 100%, just remember the community's there with you. SLR's here for you. We are going to be off on our shoulders. We're definitely going to be off on words of advice if you want to come and talk to anything. And as well, just phone the Samaritans as well if you're looking for a person to talk to. 116123. I'll put it in the chat as well. Definitely ken how it feels. Don't ken how he felt, but definitely it is rejuvenating knowing that he's found his place here on the SLR and everybody's just throwing their weight behind him. It's really wholesome. And I tuned in for like the tail end of the stream. I was a bit busy on the night, but I'll definitely be going back to tune in. And they were talking some good sense on there. So if you're looking for just any words of advice on that, I definitely recommend that as well.
Yeah. So we have Jonesy miles ahead of everyone so far. Track is getting better. Well, we've still got a few drivers to go, but at the moment it doesn't look like anybody can beat Jonesy. But we'll wait and see on that one. I don't want to speak too soon.
Definitely. I mean, see if there's one thing that I've known that's real in this particular division is the commentator's curse. It definitely is a thing, and I feel like every time we say, "Oh, this person's getting pulled, this person's going to win," we always just throw that burden on them. So SPH is probably sitting in there, all big weight on my shoulders, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, mate, we've just completely binned your chances." We've just threw the curse out there. But I've just remembered the number there just to put that in the chat there as well. But definitely pole position. Jonesy, who I was saying in Q2, definitely didn't look the sharpest tool in the shed, so to speak. In the drying conditions, he's definitely excelling in the bone dry conditions with a 1:16.3, 8/10 quicker than Scott Laney, who he is currently sharing the front rowway. And here's kind of something that's on my mind, Max, is the fact that there is such a long run down to turn one. Is pole position really where you want to be? Like, because you're going to have third and fourth getting the slipstream as well.
I did mention that earlier when I was doing the Div 2 stream. I was like, it's one of the longest runs down to turn one of the season. I think it's about 600 odd metres. Not the exact amount, but it's fairly long. And we had the guy starting from fourth position on the grid lead by turn one, basically. Or the exit turn 2 was leading, so was a Fernando Alonso-esque style start, but it can be done. So
definitely, I think although the turn the first sector in Spain, it definitely does feel nice when you're driving it, but on the start it's going to be completely clustered. It is a very narrow piece of the circuit as well, so drivers really going to be. I think drivers will be a bit punchy on the start, but at the same time, Jake Harris has just retired. Oh, and it's it. Oh, I've just completely jumped off it. Oh well. It looks like I don't really know what happened. Seems to be too fast around turn 4, maybe too wide on the exit of 4 and dipped the wheel into the grass. And the car's into the wall at 5.
Yeah. So he's managed to go a long way from the exit of turn 4. On that right side, so maybe he tried to catch the spin. But yeah, that's ruined his chances of a decent Q3. He hasn't actually set a lap. I think we've got a few drivers laps. SLR being I'm on board with is definitely on a lap. As far as I know, I think Dodgy's about to cross the line. He goes second. Yep. Bean will be the next person to cross the line, so he's now coming into the final sector, 1.9 seconds up, and that's not going to help him at all. It's a bit deep into the hairpin. So this looks like he's going to be on at least the second row if he keeps it clean.
also been made aware in the chat as well. We've got 53 viewers. It's just updated on my screen as well. So, just a warm welcome to each and every one of the 53. Love to have you along with myself and Mercs for the Division 3 race. You're tuning in for the division that's always jam-packed of action and chaos and mayhem, and you're going to watch us just struggle to keep up with it half the time as my telly's just deciding to shut itself off, and I'm not wanting that because it means I'll no get to see the action. It is just continually escalating, so change to 53 to 58, and with that I want to see 58 predictions for Paul, as Jonesy is currently occupying the best seat on the grid. Steve-O's kind of leaving it a bit late to put in a time on the board, as he is currently 9th fastest, even though he's not set time. And Jonesy, Bean and Dodgy, and that is interesting because we said SBH, and SBH is 6th, and he'll definitely be looking to improve from P6 as well. Dodgy and Scott Laney on the second row. Ned Claw up in a strong P5 for McLaren. Steve on 9th as well. So it's definitely a strong showing from McLaren. And SPH and DNR Plum. DNF Plum. 6th and 7th. And Jay Geddes has retired due to his accident in turn 4. And he'll be starting 8th at the current moment. But Steve-O just needs to put a time on the board to jump the Alfa Romeo, and Plum's retired from the session as well. He's crashed at turn 7 as well, Mercs. If we just see on board with... No, we don't see on board with Steve-O, because every time I look back it always jumps onto somebody else, which is strange. So we never got to see what happened to Plum, but I'm assuming from what we can see on the minimap, it's just the same thing that happened to Crafty at the end of Q2. It happened to Paul in the first session. It's just carrying that bit too much speed. And as soon as you turn into the slide, it just bites, and it doesn't bite, and it just keeps going left. So, Freeman says Joe's into the invite. We'll get him in.
I've got him in. I've got him in. He's joined. Steve-O up P5.
It's a McLaren third row as it stands, as we've got 20 minutes left in the session. So these times that you'll be seeing on the board will assumedly be final. We've got 3 drivers in the pits and 2 retired, so it really is just going to be a matter of whether Jonesy can improve to try and solidify his pole. If Bean can top him at the top. Steve-O's ran wide on turn 4 though, and he's taking a wee trip through the gravel on the exit, and he's just lit up the rears and spun it for good measure there too, but that'll definitely be his conquest for Paul off the table. But a strong P5.
Bean almost gets up to just under a tenth off. You've only got 2 more people on a lap, and that would be the Mercedes and just the Mercedes. Jonesy's back out of his lap, and
it's going to be down to SBH. He doesn't really clip the apex in the final turn, but he does carry a lot of speed through there up to the line, and that's 5th fastest for the Mercedes. So it does push the 2 McLarens down into 6th and 7th. We've got Steve-O as the last driver out on track, and he is already into the 1 minute 20, so I don't think that'll do his time any good. But it is Jonesy at the end of the day that does take pole by just shy of a tenth of a second. So Alfa Romeo, Red Bull front row, Dodgy and Scott Laney 3rd and 4th. They opted to stay in the pits rather than come out and try and improve. We've got SBH who did improve up to P5. Steve will be sharing the third row with him. His teammate Ned Claw will be heading the 4th and P7. Plum in 8th, and Jay Geddes crashed it, meaning they didn't really set a time, and he'll be starting 9th on the 5th row with Jester, who was purple in Q2, but he had his accident at turn 7, and he'll be starting in P10. And that is your grid. And
SPH did not get pole position, so I can only apologise for that.
We are gonna, myself and Max are gonna take the formal decision to take a back step for predicting what's gonna happen in the race, because it just tends to go the other way. So we'll try and limit our curses. But this is going to be your chance in the chat to message myself and Merx about any questions, queries. We are going to be heading into a 5-minute interval that we normally have between the qualifying and the race. So if there's anything on your mind, fire it in, and we'll do our best to answer in the period of time that we've got off. This is also your time to go and get the kettle on, go to the toilet, get the dinner in, or get yourself comfy on the couch with your mates or in the bed or whatever, and get yourself suited and booted for 33 laps of Catalonia. Doesn't normally deliver in real life, but in version 3 I've just got a hunch at night. But also get in your predictions for the top 3, and if you're feeling a bit brave, yeah, go for the fastest lap as well. And I was going to say, what's your predictions, Mix? But we have literally just said that we're taking a back seat for that because it just doesn't happen, and we don't want to throw that cuss out there. But that is the final qualifying results in its fullest form. Jonesy and Bean on the front row, Dodgy and Scott Laney in row 2, SBH and Stevo on the third row, Ned Claw and DNF Plum, and it's Jay Geddes that rounds out the top 9. And it will be Crafty's Jester that would have been occupying that P10 as well. So we've got SLR Jord saying we've got 33 laps of pure carnage, top 3 SBH, Geddes and Scott Laney, which is interesting. That's a very
mixed up.
People that I've seen in previous races. SBH says you lost your bet. I mean, truthfully, I've lost many bets. This one's just as heartbreaking as the rest. So, but SBH, I mean, solid P5 though in the Mercedes. So you're definitely you're still near the front, and anything can really happen. Midsey says Alpha Boy's on fire. So let me see. I'm just having to scroll through the chat just to kind of really see what's happening. I think it's just like a bit of banter between the chat, really. So they're just kind of going back and forward with that. SLR Freeman's got Steve Owen for the win. So the Steve O fan base rocking up again.
If Steve O wins, I can imagine we probably won't know what to say. But yeah, or even if you get the podium, to be honest, I think we'll forget about people winning the race. We just wouldn't care.
See, I can sense if Steve-O gets a podium at any point in the season, like Steve-O's always had like the fan following in SLR. Like he's always had a good handful of drivers like saying, "Oh, Steve-O for pole, Steve-O for the win, Steve-O for the podium," and like every time Steve-O has a strong showing, like the chat just kind of erupts. And even when the shoes on the other foot, it's when if Steve doesn't have the best race or he gets caught up in a collision, it still kind of erupts as well because they're all disappointed to see that he's kind of run into a bit of bad luck. But I feel like if Steve was to get a podium at any point, I think the chat would like blow up to a point that Twitch might just shut down. Like because I think that would be monumental. For him as a driver as well, definitely getting a podium, man. It's like a really good feeling. But like I think the following that he has in SLR, I think them just all kind of getting their voices in the chat and like cheering them on and spurring them on, and Twitch would just know how to comprehend that, and it would just melt. But
yeah, it would
just melt. Sorry.
It would just melt 100%. I'm going to use this time to take a break.
No worries. While Merx does take his break, you'll be here with me, so you'll all still hear a voice. Yeah, Merx is definitely he's got to take a break. And I just kind of want to give Merx a shout out as well. That we were looking for streamers for Division 2, and the SLR did he did the sorry, what am I even saying? Right, Division Two was looking for a streamer, and Merckx at the last minute did step up, and he took on the responsibility for streaming Division Two the night. And I heard that SLR Jod, who is in the Ferrari for the Division Three race, he stepped up to the plate as well, and they done an exceptional job and stepping up at the last minute to ensure that we had a Division Two stream. And I've not watched it personally yet. I'm definitely going to be watching it once this race is done, and I actively encourage you doing the same, because races in SLR always bring a bit of action, always pack some heat as well. So I'll definitely be looking forward to that. So I think Merckx's small break here is definitely warranted. So big up to him. So if there's anything in the chat you really want to ask, or if there's any predictions that you want to throw out there, I'm all ears. I'd very much love to hear them. I'm not throwing predictions out there because commentators, when they predict something in the Division 3, it normally is wrong. So I just see a conversation between drivers, so I'll just kind of lead to that. But we are anticipating a dry race as well, so definitely won't be seeing any threat of rain. We can already see the sun shining brightly on the pit lane there, and the shadow being cast by the garages and the hospitality departments there. That there's shadows being cast, so you can tell it's sunny. We're just waiting for that interval to end before we get away with the formation lap. Jonesy will be leading the way in the Alfa Romeo, and it'll be interesting to see the strategies as well, because Q2 was wet but drying, but it wasn't dry enough to go out and set a time on the dry tyres, so drivers will have a free choice of tyre to start the race with. Spain definitely seems to be a one-stop, medium to hards. I think that's it's a very conservative strategy, but it's a strategy that gets you to the line, and as it is the quickest. It'll be surprising to see if drivers do opt for the two-stop, though. I think the two-stop, it allows you to be generally quicker. You can burn through your rubber. You don't need to really tyre save all that much. But it's the issue of getting caught into traffic. The only real overtaking opportunities really are the DRS zones into the braking zone of turn 1. If you can get a really good launch of turn 16, which in itself is a really fast corner, but before that it's a really tight chicane, so it's just a matter of just sticking in, having to bear with the dirty air through that third sector to plan your move into turn 1. Or if you're feeling exceptionally brave, you can keep the foot planted through turn 9, which can be taken flat in dry conditions, maybe nowhere a full tank of fuel, but you can maybe get the driver in front into turn 10. Crush asks, will there be a pile up into turn 1? I don't know, you ask me that. The Division 3 races, in the nicest way, they are chaotic, so to see a pile up into turn 1, it wouldn't be too much a surprise, but at the same time, the drivers are more than capable of getting through turn 1, 2 and 3 relatively cleanly as well, so I don't think there will be. I think it might maybe be a bit later down the line before we see any real incidents, and you can see already everybody except for Jester is on the mediums, and the top 10, the top 9 are on mediums. Jester is in 10th on the softs, and then there's another big wall of medium tyres before you get to Jules and Sprightly, who are on hard, so they're going for the long stint at the start and then going quick at the end, same as Dingle Dolphin, and Paul is splitting the white wall tyres with a medium selection. I'm just going to quickly just skim through all the drivers just to kind of show you where everybody is. Scott Laney in 4th, you see Jonesy being dodgy there in front. SPH, myself and Max tipped in for pole in 5th place. My teammates Steve-O and Ned Claus 6 and 7 strong, shown for the McLaren drivers. Plum in 8th, Jay Geddes in 9th after he could set time to 3. Jester to get to Q3, and we've seen Baggy Fan and Judd just getting teleported back to the line. Gareth and Scott 13th and 14th. Craig disconnected in Q2 and then again in Q3, but I think we've got him in now, but he'll win 15th. Debutant Carl Smith in 16th on the mediums. Jules and Spriley 17th and 18th. Hall in 19th, and Dingle Dolphin will be rounding out the grid, and he'll be resuming his grid slot in a few moments. And then it'll be the 5 lights, and I don't see Merckx being back yet, so it will just be me taking you through. So I just asked to bear with, because we know how tumultuous the issues can be.
Back.
Oh, there he is. Right on cue is we're at the 5 lights. We're going to get a good camera angle here. We're going to have the 5 lights coming on. We're at the 4. We're at 5. The cars are revving. Long run down to turn 1. So expect somebody on the second or third row to get a good slipstream. And we're off and racing. The puff of smoke coming off the wheel spin there. And it's a good start there. But Dodgy in the back row, tucking behind the slipstream of Jonesy, and already past Bean as he was left having to pierce it all through the air. And there's a bit of front wing flying off one of the cars behind on the second row. Steve up to third already, so strong from McLaren. SPH and on the outside have been having to take to the escape road though off the track, and it's Jester already up for P10, up to 5th, and then 4th again, so they two are going to go side by side. Bean's just gone backwards on the start here. Scott Lane and SPH are the same, they were going backwards. Ned Claus really went back down 1 place as well, and he's back up into 7th. Let me get position changes so we can keep up with it. There's a yellow flag at the back, and that's the racing point A. Jord. Oh, the racing point of Jord.
No, sorry, Cal Smith.
So Cal Smith just getting a bit tangled up there, tripping over somebody's front wing, and it meant that we see him at the back of the field. We see drivers at the back here just tossing our positions here. Scott's up 4 places into P10. Jay Geddes has lost 2. Really looking at the start here, Merckx. I'm looking at the position changes. Big winner off that start was Jester. 10th to 4th on 1 lap. That's purely maybe because he's on the soft tyres. He is on the alternate strategy, so we're getting a small issue. Getting a small issue, and Jay Geddes is going to... Sorry, you keep cutting it for me, Max. You keep cutting it for me, and it says we're on lap 3, but bear in mind we are on lap 2. And I've absolutely no idea what's happening here with the timing glitching and everything else. But we've got a Red Bull of Gareth going round the outside of Jay Geddes, and Jay Geddes keeps it round the outside of turn 2, and he keeps his place. And Gareth's going to have to settle for just pulling the Alfa Romeo for the time being. We see Scott in front there as well, so Gareth will be looking to get past. Jay Geddes doing an exceptional job keeping the Red Bull behind. Please bear in mind that the timing charts are not accurate, and then as soon as they actually fix themselves, they actually are accurate. So just completely disregard that statement. And it is Jonesy that does keep his place off the start. Dodgy is up a place, and Steve-O and Jester up 3 and 6 respectively. So Steve-O is running in that elusive podium place on lap 2. And we've got the predicted pit stop strategy at the bottom of your screens here. The 1 stop medium to hard, the pit window around about the lap 14 to 16 period. And we've got drivers, if you're going down the 2 stop, it will most likely be a soft, medium, regarding how a potential safety car can come in. And regarding any changes to the weather conditions, which I doubt, the skies look relatively clear, and Gareth has got a relatively clear view in the rear end of the Alfa Romeo, but no before he gets a bit of wheel spin on it, and Baggy Fan just decides to lag in front, and he's halfway down the straight already, so Gareth really no looking, even though he's getting the place, isn't he really looking like in tip-top shape, but he's got SPH, and they're going side by side down into turn 1, and Gareth does definitely look like he's got that car built for that bit more straight line speed down into turn 1, and even when it comes to turn 10 as well. So Gareth really building the car. I don't know if SPH has actually got any damage, because
he has
he's understeering a lot there.
Right.
That'll explain why he has so much understeer, as he's got no front right end plate on that Mercedes, and he's just going to fall down the order like a stone. And Jord is looking like he's wanting to make a move. He looks like he's kind of like that way when you're kind of looking at something and you have to double take. He's kind of double and triple taking, but he's going to get the inside of the turn 7 and 8, which looks to be done, and it is. But SPH isn't really giving it up. He is going to have to tuck in eventually, but you can just see how much understeer he's getting, even with the dirty air. But it's been compounded by the damage he's got, and then you've got Calgan running outside him into turn 10 as well. So SPH definitely needing to come in and get that wing repaired if he's want to have any real chance in this race. We also know, we've just noticed that, we've got Cal Smith spinning in front of us, and we've got Cal Smith, and it's a good job Ghostin was on there. Again, how Ravenous the argument about ghosting has been in recent days, but thankfully it was on there because the Racing Point just threw itself into a spin and SPH nearly collected them there, so thankfully that was the issue, that was the case there, case in point. But was there anything that you actually noticed on that start, Merc? Because there was a bit of action in the midfield.
There was a bit. Craig picked up damage. Didn't quite see that was off. But yeah, he's had to come into the pit lane. There wasn't really much. There was obviously that incident with someone going off. I can't remember who did. Cal Smith going off earlier on. He's starting to recover, and George went off a little bit, but he started to recover as well. Dodgy is a Mercedes is off as he's come out of the pit lane.
And Steve was away to the grass, and that's going to allow Bean up the inside of turn 11. Sorry, Merc, just to cut across you there. Bean and Steve were going at it there into turn 10. Steve was taking the main line through 10. Bean was kind of leaving it late on the brakes on the inside. They were going side by side. Steve eventually painted the grass, but thankfully for him it's only a position he's lost and no a bit of front wing. But you can really just see on the interval screen now, Merch, you can see that the softs have really like that. Just to kind of clarify, we're going to see the battling for the lead here side by side, and Jones is going to try and hunt around the outside of turn 4, but Dodgy's already got it covered and takes the lead of the race on lap 5 of 33. But just want to make you aware, like when I'm trying to change the driver select there, I'm literally pressing the button and it's not working, so it just says Jonesy unless I need to like, right, there we go, right, I just have to actually, and when I say Jonesy it means I spectate Jones instead, which makes absolutely zero sense to me as well. But we'll jump back on board with Jonesy as he is actually in the DRS as well, and Jonesy and Dodgy battling for the lead has allowed Jester to try and close that gap down, but you can already see that the soft tyres are already past the point, because if the soft tyres were still in the window, you'd see Jester basically hustling Jonesy for P2 at the minute, and even Dodgy for P1, and Jonesy just got his line all wrong through that chicane there, so that'll explain why he was so slow in the exit. We've got Scott Laney right on the back of Steve-O doing the big straight as well, so DRS will be open. Steve-O isn't close enough to being in front of the DRS, so he's going to have to rely on his DRS and the rich fuel mix to try and keep the place. He'll have to try and defend it though, but Scott Laney isn't close enough and he isn't brave enough on the brakes to try and let the car roll into the inside of 1. We are seeing some penalties filter through, but we'll try and avoid that as the race goes. And Scott Laney, you can just see. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, SPHH has already been lapped. There's a yellow flag. Dingle Dolphin. Managed to keep out the wall, but yeah, he's lost a lot of time. Doesn't seem to be too much action going on. A lot of people in DRS, but no news as of yet. Maybe one from Scott Laney soon.
Change from Scott Laney to Scott in the Ferrari as he had Geddes and Baggy fan right there. And this is the battle for 9th. Scott really kind of just keeping up to pace with Plum. He hasn't dropped him too drastically, but he is 1.5 shy of the Haas in front. So he's going to have Jake Geddes in the Alpha and Baggy fan in the Williams for close company as well. And Gareth is just joined the back of this queue as well, so a real queue for P9 already starting to shape up, but jumping on board with Scott Laney, and he's not really close enough, and I think that's going to be like a recurring issue in this race, is the fact that you can't really follow the drivers through the final chicane and the final turn. There was yellow flags in the first sector again, and that's Jay Geddes and Scott is facing the wrong way, and I don't know what's happening next, but
no,
this battle for P9.
Oh, he's
been disqualified! Oh, he's been disqualified for getting his car back on
turning
the track.
Car around. Oh, Jay Geddes has got damage. Yeah, Jay Geddes got damage as well, so that might have been something to do with what happens with Scott spinning, but he's not going to be happy at all. He's only trying. I've seen that a few times where someone's trying to turn the car around but it's disqualified the driver, which is a shame. Which means he can't fight at all. But yeah, when you talk about Scott Laney trying to go for a move, I did notice that on the just before the final corner he ran wide and picked up a bit of gravel, so maybe he's struggling at the final chicane and that's hurting his run down to turn 1.
And we'll jump back on board with Scott Lane and see if he is close, and again you can already tell like he's not getting close enough. He isn't really using his ERS either, so maybe he is just kind of settling for allowing Steve to just kind of tow him along. And allow him to save his fuel and save his ERS as well. Like for Spain, I don't really expect drivers to overfuel their car all that much. Like I'd expect drivers to kind of maybe be borderline with their fuel input as well, because there is plenty of opportunity to save on this circuit. Like the whole of Sector 3 is a saving point for your race fuel, as well as maybe even kind of this Turn 7-8 complex as well. P5 really is kind of kicking up a bit of fuss at the minute. So that's why we're on board with Scott Laney, and Steve was keeping that car defensive, and Scott Laney's going to sell on the dummy. Is he going to sell on the dummy? Go up the inside. Scott Laney on the brakes, and Steve was going to try and switch back. They're going against. They're going to go side by side through 11. Steve, that bump can unsettle the car a belter, and luckily enough for Steve, just got off the throttle at the right time because it didn't go a bit twitchy through there, but lose the place to Scott Laney at the end of the day. But he's going to get a good run out of here. He can easily just take the place back, but he's getting on the curb and you can just see the car just wants to slide, and Steve-O showing his skill there to keep the car facing in the right direction and as well at the speed that it is. But is Steve-O going to try and return the favour to Scott Laney as they go up the inside? Scott Laney defends it, Steve-O just kind of backs out and just opts to sit in behind, but he's got his teammate Ned Claw right behind as well, so McLaren's having to be a bit wary at this point that they're not going to try and trip over each other's feet here. So I don't know what's really going to happen.
Jake Geddes in the pits onto hard compound tyres already. Change of wing.
Say that the pit strategy that we saw on the bottom of our screens is the fact that it's way too early. Yellow flags in sector 2. That's the racing point. That's Kel Smith, because Dodgy is currently leading the race. And we'll jump on board with DNF Plum, who doesn't really hit the apex until 10. Who is right behind Ned Claw though, so this is the battle for P5. This is Scott Laney's train. And he's got he's not got SPH. He's got SPH behind, but he's a lap down. And he's just put a penalty for multiple warnings. But DNF Plum really kind of stripped the drift back for this attack. Ned Claw's the same. Steve-O going to try and get it close enough. He's got a lot of ERS management today in this race. He's already in single digits and we're only in lap 10. Jester doing an exceptional job trying to make these softs go way longer than just alone. They're way by their sell by day in my personal opinion, but how he's managing that is a skill in itself, because he is still keeping the pace. He hasn't dropped him too much, and it's not like Bean's catching him either. It's like 2 seconds, so it's been 2 seconds for a wee while.
I just noticed that Baggy almost rear-ended Gareth at that could have been his race, but they're quite close to each other on track. There's a nice train for 5th place still. Crafty's still out there on soft tyres. I guess everyone had the benefit of soft tyres. Everyone had the benefit of fresh tyres, I should say. But still, 9 laps is quite a long time on soft compound tyres.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see how long he actually goes on these soft tyres though, because he's just going to run again, Max. He's going to run to start his 11th lap, 10th lap on the soft tyres, and Steve will run wide there. Is his teammate going to get a run? His teammate, I think, just kind of fully in sympathy there because he has the close, but he's in the slipstreams in the DRS, and the ERS button has been pushed. So he is definitely going to use the slipstream to try and close in on his teammate. Is he going to go for the late move? I think it'd be foolish to lunge up the inside of your teammate, but I think it'd be a sensible option there just to stick behind. We can see on the timing screens that we've got Jonesy just slowly kind of, he's crucially jumping in and out of the DRS zone. Yellow flags in sector 1, and that's from Jules. Let me see what's happened to him, that's no Jules' fault. That's Jules. So Jules, I think, just spin at turn 2, and that's the kind of same thing as well, Max. That curb at turn 2 on the inside of turn 2 is almost like an auto spin curb. Oh,
yeah, I'd agree.
Show.
Yeah, I would. Well, it depends how you take the curb. I suppose if you can ride the curb correctly, you should be fine. But yeah, if you get it slightly wrong and you're basically around, or you're invalidated lap, or got a corner cut warning. So it's up to people if they want to use the curb or not. But we do have some pit lane action, and I believe these guys will be going on the hard compound tyres.
And early pit stop action already. Beans already onto the hards, but suggests they're going to be
Onto the hards.
Well. So he is on the same strategy. This is interesting because he's managed to get a really good start on the soft tyres, and he managed to keep the tyre life to a point where it would actually still function quite well, and then he's pitted at a sensible time, and he's got some clear air as well. It's not like he's lost time to being in that pit lane. Williams' garage is right at the end of the pit lane, so he's not going to lose any time. And he's got 5 seconds worth of clean air on the hards. This is his time to actually pit the fit down and actually go for an undercut here, because Jonesy and Dodgy have to be kind of looking over their shoulder at this point, saying, what if he gets a good lap? What if he goes fastest here? What if he is actually going to set a fastest lap? What if he does go purple? Are we going to see them coming out of the pits in retaliation to that? Or are they going to keep going? They're going to keep going.
By the looks of it. Yeah.
They're going to keep going.
Personal best from Jonesy behind Dodgy, and he's getting close. But not close enough. Fuel light on, so he's hoping for a safety car, I think. Steve-O's in, and Gareth is going for a move on Plum. Easy move, easy as you like, really.
Easy move to turn 1. On the straight even. Not like when I jumped on board, the move was already done, so Gareth as well, I think a driver at Gareth's calibre, like we've seen him always kind of being at the front as well, so seeing him in the mid-pack is a bit out of his comfort zone. We've normally seen him near the front of the grid, so this will be he'll be trying to just kind of like claw his way back up to the top and try and salvage some points. He is 5th at the moment, but we've got some drivers coming in making their pit stops already, and Dodgy's picked up a penalty there for multiple warnings, and that'll be another thing as well, Merrick's the way in at the end will be the issue of penalties through this race, because there is plenty of opportunity to exceed the track limits. There is plenty of opportunity to cut a particular corner, whether it's deliberate or accidental. You will be punished by a penalty. So it'll be interesting to see how all the penalties really feed into the final result. But we've not got Jonesy or Dodgy coming in yet again.
Scott really sped in the pit lane. It's not going to help him at all. Come the end of the race.
All going to help him.
By the way, though, if you look on board with Jonesy, he has got the blue spanner wrench, whatever it's called, one of those. He has got that, which probably means that he's going to come in at the end of this lap.
This will be his pit window. This will be his engineer. This will be Jeff on the radio saying, right, bring the Alpha in. We're going to change the tyres and we're going to send her back out on some fresh rubber. So if that light is to be expected to see Jonesy peeling in at the end of this lap, we'll actually just sit on board anyway because he is right on the back of SLR Dodgy in the battle for the lead, and he looks he kind of late break into the chicane there. Oh, and alright, this is interesting. So he was going to come in, but because Dodgy came in, he's like, right, I'm going to go in some clear air and set a fast lap and then come in. So this is interesting.
Sorry. I've just seen Steve almost end his race right there. Went for a dive bomb on Paul and almost ran into the back of him. got it all wrong and has to stick behind him for a bit longer. But yeah, sorry to cut across you there. That was quite close to disaster.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's your duty. I mean, I didn't ken what was going on there. There's nothing really else going on anyway. And I was like, all right, Mixer said something like, let's help me, Steve-O, and I couldn't scroll across, so I just literally just spammed the trigger button just to scroll down and see what happened. But interestingly, no. Interestingly, it's no happened because I thought Jester was good. Oh, and he's going to go for a late move on John, but he has to back out of that right at the last minute. But what's interesting is, I thought Jester was in a prime position to undercut. But if anything, it looks like he's actually lost time by pitting early.
Yeah, as we'll see. I'll continue on board with Dodgy. I guess he might have got stuck behind Jord, or maybe he got traffic and couldn't get past. But interesting to see where Dodgy comes out as he
We'll jump on board. Jonesy's there on the pit exit, but Dodgy's going to go past, and it's going to be Dodgy who resumes the lead. Well, the net lead is DNF Plum that's currently got the lead at the moment, but Dodgy in the battle of the pit crews. Jonesy was opting for the extra lap, and at the end, I don't think Dodgy's really lost all that much. He's kind of kept the gap to what it was. I think, if anything, he's only really lost half a second. But with Jonesy, he's thinking the long game here. He's thinking the end of the race. He's thinking like lap 30, 31, 32. That's when we're probably going to see him. He's just going to sit behind the racing point, just kind of try and keep the tyres fine. He needs to really sit behind the racing point anyway, because you can see in the bottom right, his fuel light's on, so you can immediately tell that he's running a very light car. And if he's running a light car, he's going to have to save, like you said, he's going to have to save fuel at some point. So maybe just sitting in the slipstream of the racing point is going to help him do that. And then he's just going to go for his move near the end, where Dodgy doesn't have any time to really retaliate to that. And the battle of the ERS between the two race leaders as well is Jonesy, before he actually started using his ERS, was in a much more comfortable position, and he has still got the edge. It's a slight edge, but it's still an edge to have nonetheless. So we'll definitely be trying to manage that as well.
We've got an interesting train. What am I on about? Nedclaw is on the back of Jules, has a little look, but Jules is kind of in the middle of the two McLarens and hasn't stopped yet. Nor is Sprightly, so they're kind of, I wouldn't say a bit of too far to say mobile chicanes, but they're going to be slower, so it'll be vital for these guys to get past, the McLarens to get past Sprightly and Jules respectively.
It'll definitely not be helping the tyres as much either. There's a yellow flag in sector 1, that's for Paul, so turn 2 again claiming another driver there. Scott is our only retirement at this stage, and his retirement is his disqualification, and that was for just waiting for everybody to go by and then get the car back on circuit, and then the next thing he knew he was disqualified. But that will probably be a particular issue we need to get the game to look at as well, because we looked out as soon as we saw the incident between himself and Jay Geddes, is that he was doing the right thing. We saw the same thing happen to Steve in Japan in qualifying. Like he spun at Dunlop, and then when he came back out of the circuit, he was disqualified. So it's a weird common penalty to get, and it's definitely no warranted. I think Scott done the sensible thing there. So it's a massive, unnecessary slap on the wrist with the stewards of the game to give him a disqualification for that, and it's completely through. I mean, George's still carrying the Ferrari torch at the minute. He's in P12, but Scott was running 9th at the time, and you can only really kind of hinder a guess at where he would have been at this stage in the race. Both of them could have been in the points, and that's just kind of threw that out there. So all you really need to do at this point, unfortunately, is just look forward to Monaco, which is the next race. And Monaco itself is a very, very tough track. I personally don't like it. It's not my favourite. But it's the actual history of Monaco that kind of is close to the hearts of so many fans, and that's kind of why it's still there as well. And it's probably the biggest event on the Formula 1 calendar. Anyway, it's arguably the biggest race as well, and it's the only time where qualifying is at its most important as well. But just looking at the chat, doesn't really seem to be too much going on either. So chat is quite healthy. It's very chatty. But
59 viewers I'm seeing on here as well.
59 viewers. Warm welcome to yous, everyone. I hope you have been thoroughly enjoying the race as much as myself and my commentator Max. We've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm very much here for it. I mean, I'm meant to be here for it. I'm the commentator, but like, we're looking at SPH just getting out the way of Steve-O. SPH has really just had the race to forget. Same for Mercedes in general, like 18th and 19th. It's a complete switch of fortune when it comes to how you see it in real life, when they're just constantly dominating. To here, there's just like this one race, it's just really no came together for them. Both drivers have shown pace and glimpses of like race winning capacity, but it's just really not been the race for them. But looking at the gap in front as well, Max, the gap between Woodsy and Dodge is up to 2 seconds.
Craig's gone. He's out of the session. He's just corrected one too many times, and that is a safety car, and that's just turned the race on its head completely.
And Craig, you see him there on the left-hand side, and you see him there on the right-hand side. Now his car's just quickly getting evacuated there off the circuit, and the safety car is out, and the race has
It was funny
changed.
because I was just once you'd finished talking about that, I was about to mention that there would have been some team orders done at AlphaTauri because Sprightly was ahead of Craig, and then at turn 3 Sprightly seemed to just let Craig go by and go and attack. I think it was their Paul at the time. I can't tell. I'm not entirely sure now, but it was. And then I was just following on with Sprightly, just looking to see how he would get on, and then Craig coming out of turn 9 lost the back end as he's got a drive-through penalty, which is not going to help him at all. But yeah, Craig lost the back end coming out of turn 9, caught it, and then went to the left and then hit the left-hand side wall in the middle of the straight, and his wheel was off.
And that has meant that Craig joins Scott on the list of retirements. And I think the safety car itself there, Max, was the right call. As we see the Mercedes at SPH, it's that SPH at the back there, just spinning the chicane. We've got a Haas in the pits and one of Jules. And here's the thing as well, Max, is because it's closing the pack up again, and which Jules going to go into in the pits? That's going to be I'm surprised because everybody's track position rather than go for the fresh medium tyres to get them to the end.
Yeah, I guess it's a take here, but I'd back myself on a fresher set of tyres to. I mean, obviously, works. So he had a clean run to have a decent finish. But yeah, I think if you were going to bite the bullet, you basically a free pit stop. You probably lose a few positions on the safety car, but gain them back, you'd like to think, on the fresher set of tyres. Plus the hards are probably not going to be that great come the end of the race. And your mediums would only be, what? You'll have about 10 laps or so of racing to the end of the race, so. But I guess most people have decided to stay out. It's up to them. But yeah, I think mediums was definitely an option for some of these drivers, but we'll see if that was the right call.
Definitely, and what's crucial about this as well, Merckx, is the fact that we saw Jonesy had his fuel light on, and this is his prime chance to save that extra wee bit of fuel, and then launch his attack on Dodgy for the lead. But the only issue with that is now that the pack is being bunched up together, he's going to have SLR Bean, the Red Bull, and Jester and the Williams right there as well. So the battle for the win, which was originally between Dodgy and Jonesy, has completely been combusted, and we've got basically any man wins situation at this stage. I think anybody, if they can get like a decent start off the restart, keep their noses clean, and just pick drivers off, just kind of cut their way through the field, they could find themselves up in a strong place. But as well, you've got Jules and Sprightly on the mediums as well, 12 and 13. They're the earliest runners on a different compounded tyre. You get Cal Smith on the mediums, Paul's on the mediums, and Dingle Dolphin as well on the medium tyres. So you've definitely got a few drivers at the back of the grid, and I think that might just be the fact that they've got nothing to lose. I think that's pretty much it. Jules and Sprightly, they're going to have a bit more grip, they're going to have a bit more pace, cars are going to be lighter. Like the hards of, like you can look at there, like trying to work out a quick average, you've got 6 laps, like 6 lap old tyres looking between Dodgy and SLR Jordan 11th. Like the tyres have definitely had a bit of use, so to speak. So they've definitely got a bit of wear. Whereas Jules and Sprightly are going to have fresher mediums, fresher rubber, softer rubber, and it wouldn't be too surprising to see them maybe creep into the points. But
yeah, I'd back them to get the points. Like you say, you never know. This is Division 3 after all, so keep your wits about you. But yeah, I'd back myself. If I was Jules, I'd feel confident on the fresh tyres. If you look at someone like Jay Gellis on 13 lap old hards, you think, why didn't he come into the pit lane? He had nothing to lose outside the points, and he turned 14th, and he's probably going to be a sitting duck. But you never know, I suppose.
Definitely, and the question beckons on the likes of SLR Dodgy and Jonesy as well. The front two had like a healthy gap. They had like a 6-7 second gap. They could have easily come in to the pit lane while everybody was still fully in the Delta. Like the Delta doesn't go away until the first driver gets to the safety car, so they would have still been under the Delta. And the pit lane doesn't have to abide by that, so you can go at your standard speed in the pit lane and the pit exit. And they could have come out on fresher rubber and potentially kept their places. And then worst came to worst, they would have been 3rd and 4th, and it would have been Bean and Jester that would have been 1st and 2nd. So I feel like they have arguably missed a trick.
Yeah. So I see the safety car was coming in this lap, or did I miss something?
It's coming in. The lights are off, and Bert's just driving Audrey as this. We've got a silver Mercedes to a pink Mercedes as the safety car, and it's going to be Dodgy that'll be just teeing up the perfect moment, perfect launch off the final chicane and back under green. But he has to give Bernd Myland a bit of time to go back out of the pit lane, and this is his time to catch everybody up. You can see them all there, the snake just coming through the final chicane, and it's going to be Dodgy pitting the fit down there. You see it there, he's into full speed, and he's already going to lose it to Jonesy, who's already caught him, and he's going to have to tuck into the slipstream. Dodgy defensive, Jonesy's going to go around the outside. It's going to be a dead heat into turn 1. Jonesy, is he alongside? He's just behind Dodgy, giving back a squeeze into turn 1, but Jonesy just has to settle for being behind, and Jonesy's going to have to stay in P2. He was alert to Dodgy's restart and nearly caught the race leader napping into turn 1 and nearly made the move, but it looks to be status quo from the restart to the first sector. Is the only person to have changed places is Jules, and he's already up into the points. You can just see him up into P10, and he's going to be right behind his teammate Ed DNF Plum. There's one
Probably-
on the road you can see there.
Probably be some team orders. Well, I think so. Jules has just taken a large chunk out of turn 7 though. But it's not going to halt his progress. He's trying his best to get points. We will have to wait and see. Dodgy's had a great restart. Jonesy's got away from Bean, so they're quite spread out already at the front. So we wait and see. But Crafty on the back of Bean is looking quite interested.
And is he going to get the X? He's already got the car into the ERS into overtake before going onto the straight, and Steve was picking up penalties as well. And that's the thing as well, penalties are going to be so much more crucial now because the packs are joint together. It's like a big continuous snake.
Oh,
It is
wow.
broken up in a few bits. But you've got two McLarens gone side by side through there, and Steve will just keep the places right on board with Ned Claw through turn 3. Gareth is right there as well, and this is 8th place for the Red Bull driver. He's going to be just waiting, biding his time, waiting for Ned Claw to maybe make a mistake and get close, but Gareth definitely looking a bit punchy on the restart as well. Jonesy clawing himself back into that 1 second window for the DRS as well. Jonesy really looking like he's kind of saying to himself psychologically he needs to keep within that 1 second if there's any real chance to win. Again, Dodgy's got penalties. I don't know about Jonesy, so we need to just kind of, he's just going to have to sit there and think, I can't rely on just sitting behind. I need to go for it. I need to keep in that window. And he's doing an exceptional job just trying to get himself back into that 1 second window and back into DRS range. And it's
Purple.
slowly drifting back as well.
Yeah, purple 62. Oh, that's a Mercedes off. That is SPHH. He's already been lapped and now has been lapped by the whole field besides Baggy. I don't know if Baggy's all the way back here. He must have been involved in the incident himself, or he spun because he's got a full front wing. So,
And there it is there, Merckx, you were saying it just a lap ago. There's the team orders coming in at Haas. Jules has been let go by his teammate to go and chase after Gareth. And that's the thing as well, like, oh, but the Ferrari of George just like creeping up to the inside there. He just kind of came out of nowhere through the inside of turn 3, looking to make a move.
he's retiring in the pit lane.
Alright, and SBH is retiring in the pit lane, I think. See, for SBH, it's definitely been one of the, when it rains, it pours, and it quite literally did rain in qualifying, so, and it's just poured through there, so he's definitely not had the race to remember, but, every cloud, there is Monaco next week, so that'll be one to get the practice in. Drivers will have a week to practice on Monaco before they're there for the show next week. Same time as usual, 9 o'clock British Standard Time on a Saturday night. And we'd very much love to have you along with us. Hopefully myself and Merckx once again for that commentary. And
This train, by the way, is from P4 down to P13 at the moment. So yeah, the flag as SBHH's car decides to come all the way back on track, but retires out the way anyway. Ghosting is on, so it doesn't matter. It won't get in the way of anybody. But we'll see as Steve-O has spun, hit the wall, got damage, and he's got 10-second time penalty for driving around the track. And it's just gone upside down for Steve-O, and now he's rallying.
and it's I didn't really catch what happened, but I mean, Steve was running so well in the race as well. He was in a healthy bit at the points as well. He was running alongside his teammate, and his teammate was 6th and 7th, and they were in that kind of that 4th to 7th window for a good period of the race. And I don't really know what happened. I think it must have just been just turn 2 again, Merckx. That he just
I didn't see.
Took him.
I didn't see, but I'd imagine it was.
And it's definitely no what he would have wanted. It's been a strong race for him. He definitely did look quick in qualifying as well. The teammates, the two McLaren teammates couldn't be separated, even in qualifying and for most of the race. but and he's into the pits to get that wing repaired as well. So it's definitely not been what Steve would have wanted. I mean, keep the head high for the fact that there was definitely some serious pace in that McLaren Renault, and hopefully we can see him carry that momentum forward to Monaco in a week's time. And while we are on lap 28 of 33, please be sure to fire in your Driver of the Day nominations. The game will have his own nomination, but we'd very much like to hear from yourselves in the chat. Who you think has been worthy of the title for Driver of the Day here in Spain. I will pitch that question to Mick. It's still a bit early in the day, but do you have a particular nomination in mind?
I haven't really thought about it too much. I'd like to see what Jules can do. As Jonesy's left the session, so that is not good. And Crafty's left the session as well. And I don't really know what's going on, but I will try and get back in. But yeah, I'd say Jules, if he gets up a few more positions, then I'll try and invite them back.
No worries, I'll jump on board with Gareth as he's going to be right behind Ned Claw, who's going to have Jules right behind him as well. So Jules has really closed himself into the back of the Red Bull, and I think it really might just be a matter of time before Jules finds a way past Gareth. You can just see how much grip the Haas go through these slower turns, and Gareth locking up a brake there, front left brake, creating a bit of smoke into turn 5 as well. Gareth is going to be wary, Jules right behind, and I think Gareth is going to have a monumental task in hand to try and keep the Haas behind, especially considering their own different compounded tyres. So Gareth really got his work cut out if he can keep the Haas behind, and Jester is back in the session as well. So Jester's lost it for P4 and he's into 8th now, so he's unfortunately lost it big time there as well.
If he rejoins at a suitable time, or gets the at a suitable time, if they can actually take control of their car. Yeah, I don't think either of them have.
Oh, and Ned Claw's going to go defensive, and Gareth's just going to slip past in the slipstream, and Gareth's put himself a car between himself and Jules. There's a dirt and dust off at turn 4, and it's Jonesy. Jonesy's just hit the gravel trap at turn 2. And I think that's exactly what you were saying again, Merck. It was just the fact that the car just gave him control at the wrong time. I don't know what happened to him there, but he was running the race so well, and as soon as he had the slight issue of connection, he's come back in, probably just resumed control of the car at the wrong time, and it's meant that he's in the wall, in the gravel. So definitely no being the strong result, and I can't change the thing against Saturday manually. We're going to have Jester. Is he back in? He is. Steve-O was fastest though. Steve-O was sitting the fastest lap there. Bit of pride there.
Yeah, just seen some wing actually come off, I think. Or I don't know if I was seeing things, but...
No,
yes, Ned Claw. Ned Claw has hit the back of... Well, I assume he's hit the back of Jules, but I'd say, yeah, Jules and Gareth had a pretty good race, and this could...
Oh, he's run wide. Oh, and there's free wide!
Could...
Oh, and there's contact!
Oh my
and there's
word.
Contact! That was close there, and there was nearly free wide, and there was nearly a plane accident there with everything that was gone wrong there. But the Ferrari's going to have the inside of the Williams, and they're going to go free wide into turn 1. 3 doesn't get to 1, but 2 definitely does for this time. Ned Claw's
everywhere, yeah.
And Ned Claw is the driver in a McLaren F1 car. He's driving a stagecoach bus, and there's contact at the back, and it's Jester, and he's retired.
Oh, there's a sliding Cowsmith. He's managed to keep it, but yeah, I think you were saying 3 into 1 don't go, and I think they did try on the entry towards turn 4 to go 3 wide, and unfortunately Crafty was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, Ned Claw's understeer, and George having to adapt his line for turn 9 to avoid the McLaren understeer. Ned Claw you can just see the car slowing down. And George's getting out of shape there, and Ned Claw's coming back as well. And then George lost it, and then Ned Claw's going to get him back into turn 13. And there's
This
the
is-
racing point of Cal Smith on debut, squeezing out Sprightly into the chicane. Who's going to have Paul right there? Paul's fun his way back into this race. It's all kind of kicking off here in the midfield.
Oh,
Dodgy
Paul's
did have
on
a
the
battle.
gravel.
Oh, and Paul just understeering, dipping their toe into the gravel trap on the exit of the final turn there, and he's going to just dart out of the slipstream, back into the slipstream, knows that the move is, he can time it right. Cal Smith picking up a penalty. I don't know where that's going to weigh in. Penalties are just a complete blur to us here in the booth. We are going to have to just wait for the unofficial results once the checkered flag drops, and we're going to see Jord, Cal Smith, Nedclaw and Sprightly are going to go side by side. Nedclaw gives Sprightly a pinch, but Sprightly going to try and hunt around the outside. He is. He's going to try and go. Nedclaw shows him the long way run, and then Dare Paul's going to is going to get up the inside of turn 7. Is going to get the move done. He is. Sprightly's going to have to sit behind him. Paul gets a bit out of shape. And that allows Sprightly back through. Nedclaw's understeering again, and this should be easy pickings for Sprightly. But Nedclaw definitely seems to have picked up a bit of speed there. Sprightly has to, it's going to go try go the long way. The long way run again. And there's Paul going off at turn 10 as well, just kind of overshooting his braking point there. Sprightly looking on the back of Nedclaw. Nedclaw's just kind of dropping like a stone at this point. He's still keeping the speed on the straights though, which is interesting. So he's definitely set up his car for some straight line speed. But Nedclaw, that damage, McLaren have kind of like, they were running really well in qualifying and for like 80% of the race, and then they've just kind of self-destructed. It's a bit unprecedented, but we are on the final lap of the race. We're on 33, and the battle between Nedclaw, Sprightly and Paul is really heating up, and as you said, Max, Jules is really kind of, and there's Sprightly making the move, sorry. And Nedclaw's went wide, and there's Paul going up the inside of the top 4 as well. Is Nedclaw going to try and hold it from the outside? He tried, but he didn't make it work. And I kind of changed it against, I need to do it manually.
Yeah, driver of the day votes coming in. Jules is being voted at the moment. Dodgy is going to cross the line soon.
And
he is. Yeah, go on. Go.
Oh, sorry. And Dodgy is going to be the driver. Racing Point that does take the checkered flag here in Spain. He was pushed for most of the race by the Alpha Jonesy, but a connection issue meant for Dodgy that pressure was relieved.
Gareth's up.
And Gareth's up to the podium. Jules up to 4th though. Scott Laney's been demoted to 5th. Plum's come across the line in 6th. Jord takes 7th. Cal does take 8th on debut. But Sprightly goes up to 7th. Strong shown there. And Paul goes up to 7th. Which is Sprightly down to 8th. And Cal gets demoted outside of the points on debut. And he's just continuing to go down. Jonesy crosses the line. And he doesn't make it into the points after these connection issues. Baggy Fan crosses the line. 14th stays 14th. Jay Gerris and Steve-O are going to be the last 2 to cross the line and confirm their positions for the race. But driver of the day votes, we did asking about lap. I think we did ask a bit early, so we'll ask these again. I think Merckx has kind of got that result in for us already, and I think it's Jules. I think Jules has definitely just kind of turned up at the end there and got the strategy call pretty spot on in my opinion there. So I think Jules has been a very worthy driver of the day, and even the game agrees. So. Don't have that particular debate between the game's driver of the day and the chat's driver of the day. They have found an agreement in there somewhere. But we're going to see the podium in a few moments as well, where Dodgy will be celebrating that win as he does the wee jumping punch in the air, gets his winner's trophy there. And I think that's been a very controlled drive for him. Had Jonesy pressuring them for the majority of the race, and I think it was just that once the connection issues kind of hit, and I think he knew that himself too. It was just a matter of just bringing the car home, and then it's the 2 Red Bulls on the podium. So Racing Point top step, Racing Point 2-3.
Yeah, I will get them in that.
And while you do that, I will run you through the final race results. These are, of course, unofficial. But it is Dodgy that does take the checkered flag here in Spain. and it's going to be SLR Bean and SLR Gareth and the two Red Bulls surrounding him on the podium. Jules, after starting 17th, up to P4 and has been voted your driver of the day. Scott Laney in 5th. Quiet race for Scott Laney, and DNF Plum is up in the 6th. Paul started 19th up to 7th. Sprightly started 18th up to 8th. Strong showing from those two drivers as well. Ned Claw won a really strong race, ends up getting 9th, 2 points for McLaren with wing damage for like the last 2 or 3 laps there. Jord managing to jump into the points. The pole sitter Jonesy connection issue hit him late on, means he finishes outside of the points. Dingle Dolphin in 12th, up from P20, which is strong. Cal Smith on debut, pushed out of the points at the end on penalties. Baggy Fan, Jay Geddes and Stevo are the last of your finishers, and it's Jester, SBH, Craig and Scott who are your retirements / disqualifications.
Finally take a breath after that. Certainly ramped up come the end. And I believe we have our 3 podium sitters in, which we do. So I guess you'll want me to do the interviews as per.
Please.
So we'll start off with our 3rd place man, and that is Gareth, I do believe. So, I mean, you're probably disappointed with qualifying, but you can't really complain much about that race. How's that one for you?
Yeah, very, very disappointed in qualifying. Just couldn't seem to get a decent lap in Q2. Car felt really, really slidey in the corners. So yeah, just thought, right, okay, knuckle down. Let's look after the tyres and see if we can pick up some points. And then at the start of the race, it was very sketchy for the first couple of corners. I think I even dropped a couple of places, and then just started to pick them off as we went through the field, and just relied on the strat then after that.
Yeah, I think obviously you benefit from having less penalties than Laney, so it's quite clean throughout there. Looks you kind of went under the radar a little bit because I didn't really see much of you, but you showed that you had good pace and bounced back after a disappointing qualifying, so well done.
Yeah, thank you. Well done, lads.
On to 2nd place man, SLR Bean. Pretty close in qualifying. Seemed to just be off the pace of the front 2 a little bit, but a strong race nonetheless, and picked up 2nd place as well. So talk us through that one.
Yeah, I mean, it felt pretty decent in the wet, to be fair. I'm probably hoping for a wet race, but it wasn't. After I showed a bit of pace in the wet, and then obviously in Q3, Johnsy had a great lap. I think it was Johnsy who got pole, wasn't it? Yeah. Great lap, and I couldn't get near it. Well, I say I couldn't get it. I didn't come in for fresher tyres. I just tried to do another lap on the same set, but I couldn't beat it. And then the race, I was just a bit windy in turn 1. I should have really held my ground a little bit, but that lost me some positions. But taking nothing away from Dodgy and Johnsy as well. It's just a shame he disconnected, I think, at the end there. I'm not saying I'd have caught him, but it'd have been a nice last 3 laps if he hadn't have disconnected. So, but yeah, well done to Dodgy, well done to Gareth. It's just a shame that a few of the lads and Johnsy in front disconnected, so which gifted me the P2. So I'm happy with that. Thanks.
Yeah, well done today. Well, we move on to our race winner, Racing Points on top once again. I'm pretty sure you can be happy with that after, well, it's been a pretty good season, I think, so far. A few podiums and getting on the top step now. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's lovely to get on the top step, but I just want to dedicate this win to our friend SLR Scopes. I mean, that's for him. I really wanted to win that for him, and that's for you, Scopes. So enjoy.
Yeah, great sentiment from yourself there. We were pretty close with Jonesy all race, but obviously with him, unfortunately, disconnection, you managed to pull away in the end. talk us through that safety car restart where it got a little bit close.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think either me, Jonesy, or SLR Bean would have wanted the safety car at that point, but it came, and you know, 3 laps later it went, and I didn't get the best start. I could see Jonesy was catching me. I just had to whack a bit of overtake on and Rich Mix to try and hold him off, and I managed to do that. And thankfully, I got through turn 1 and turn 2 ahead of him, so I think that was enough.
Yeah, you got the job done in the end, and that's 25 points in the bag for your championship, which you cannot complain about. And well, Fraud Squad continues to rise up.
Yes.
So
Yeah, exactly.
Riggs,
Exactly.
any final thoughts?
No, I just really want to extend my congratulations to the top 3 on a strong race, just for everybody for providing us as commentators, the viewers, with a really grand spectacle once again in Division 3. I feel like it always kind of lives up to the hype that it gets, and rightly so. I mean, I just kind of want to emphasise Dodgy's dedication to the Winty Scopes as well, and just kind of reinform the viewers as well that if they haven't checked out the podcast that was streamed on Wednesday there, to have a quick look at that. And it's about mental health, and kind of just talks about how you can reach out to people if you need help, and us as drivers and commentators, whoever you're in the community, like, we're always here for each other on that, and it's just one big happy family at the end of the day. And I've put the number for Samaritans in there as well in the chat, which I'll put again at the end. So just kind of want to emphasise that. I think that's quite a touching tribute as well. And just to echo the fact that we've got the elite race as well tomorrow at 7 o'clock British Standard Time, so we very much look forward to having you for the final race in Spain, where the top tier take to the track, and join us next week for Monte Carlo, the crown jewel of the calendar.